Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back. Kellen here again with Droid Life. So OnePlus 6T still in-house. Got that unboxing out of the way. Working on that full review. But before we get there, we know a number of you probably have the phone in hand already, or you may have one on the way. And if that's the case, like with all other major flagship phones, which this is considered, we want to make sure you get the most out of it from the get-go. So we do that with the first 10 things we think you should do. So here we go. First 10 things to do with your OnePlus 6T. We are, of course, starting with the fingerprint reader. The fingerprint reader, not on the back, it is actually in the display. So you should use it. This is one of the big selling features here, right? So if you haven't seen this yet, you can see it kind of lights up down here at the bottom. I'll actually wake the screen so you can see it. So see that? That's the fingerprint reader. It's actually in the display. You just put your finger on there and it unlocks just like any other fingerprint reader. But you should use it because it's not only cool, this is the first phone in the US with one, but it actually works pretty well. So to get it set up, and if you didn't do this while you walked through setup, this is where you'll find it now. Go into settings, security lock screen, and screen lock. You're gonna have to set up one of those. I currently have a pattern, but you could do a PIN or password or something like that. And then you'll see a section called fingerprint. So tap on fingerprint, use whatever your pattern, password, PIN is, and then we can start setting up fingers. So I've got 4. So I set up both thumbs and both index fingers, since if I'm holding the phone, your thumb is going to go there, and if it's laying on a desk, your fingers are going to go there. Makes sense? So I set up those 4, got those going there. To add one, though, all you do is hit add fingerprint, and it walks you through the process. And so we'll use this middle finger because I haven't used it before, and you just lift and press and lift and press and lift and press. Now, I will say this one takes a little bit longer than normal fingerprint readers that you found on the back sides of phones or something like that. It actually takes quite a while, and it's a little finicky, but once you get it set up, it works pretty well. I'm not going to finalize that. But so 4 fingers, thumbs, index, make sure you set those up. A couple other things I think you should tweak are these 2 down here. So one is pick up your phone to show, and one says tap the screen to show. So what that's doing is when you pick up your phone, or if you just tap on it, the fingerprint reader lights up so then you can scan your finger. And that's important because if your phone is sitting off with a black screen, you can't touch the fingerprint reader right there to unlock. So there's no way to unlock it. But if you have it set up to touch, so if we touch, it'll fire up and then I can unlock. Or if you have it set up to do lift or move, let me try to do that again. Set up to lift, it'll also come on and then you can unlock it. So that's why those 2 are pretty important. Otherwise, if you don't have those, you'd have to double tap the screen to wake it up or press the button to get to this screen, and that's just an extra step you don't want to do. So again, I would turn both of those on. Now, the other thing you can change here is this fingerprint animation effect. So there is a Cosmos version, which you can see the little animation there. There's a wave animation and a stripe animation. I've been using the wave. I just think it's kind of cooler, but use, whatever you want to use there. You can't turn it off, which is kind of unfortunate because if you're in a dark situation and you try to scan your finger, it actually shoots this like light pulse and kind of can light up a room. But either way, find whichever one works the best for you. So anyway, fingerprint reader with these ambient settings turned on is kind of the best situation. From there, I would say you may as well use their face unlock as well. So face unlock uses the front camera to scan your face and then unlock your phone. It actually works pretty well. It's pretty fast. So if you get into this situation where maybe that fingerprint reader isn't quite as fast as you like, if you wake the phone and have face unlock set up, it'll scan your face and maybe unlock it before your fingerprint even reads. It's pretty fast. So if I remove face data here, this is my face, and then I add it, the next screen, it'll go through and it starts scanning my face, which I know it's not really doing because there's a mic and a camera and stuff like that, but you put your face in this little silhouette right here, and it then scans your face and records face data. And then it does face unlock. So anyway, I would consider those 2 for sure. Use the fingerprint reader because, well, it's kind of one of the big selling features on this phone. From there, let's talk about our navigation setup. So down here, navigation bar, how you move around your phone. As you can see, I've got the standard Android setup with back, home, and app switcher, but OnePlus actually includes a couple of gesture options as well. So we're going to go back into settings and look for buttons and gestures, and then navigation bar and gestures. And there's a couple other things we'll talk about here in a second, but we're going to go in here first. So OnePlus offers you 3 options. You can do back home recents, which is what I have here, back home recents. You can do back home or navigation gestures. So back home recents, this is your standard setup. You tap this to get to your app switcher, look around at other apps. If you double tap it, it takes you back to your most recent app. Obviously, there's a back button and a home button. You guys know what those do. If we go with back home, this is sort of like Google's setup, which was introduced with Android Pie on the Pixel 2, and then it was included with the Pixel 3. And what you have here is a home button. And then if you're in an app, a back button also shows up. So if you go somewhere, you can tap the back button. To get to your app switcher, you actually swipe up on that home button, the little pill button. You can also press and hold and drag it around, and it'll let you slide between apps. I'm not going to fully go into this, but you get how it works. It's kind of Google's version. I'm not a huge fan of it on this particular phone. Seems a little less responsive when you do that swipe up gesture and things like that, but I'll let you decide if it's something you want to use. The third one, though, is navigation gestures, and this is full gesture support. You can see when I enable it, the whole navigation bar at the bottom goes away. And so how that works is then you swipe up from the bottom, and that takes you home. If you're in an app and you want to switch apps, you actually swipe up and hold for a second, and then it takes you into this app switcher UI. Now, if you are in somewhere and need to go back, you actually just swipe up on either the right or left side of center. So center is how you get into this UI or go home. If you want to go back, you can swipe up either over here on the left side or over here on the right side, and that takes you back. So I'll let you to decide what you want. I personally don't like the extra effort it takes to swipe up and down constantly. I'd rather just tap. But again, this is completely up to you. I'm just showing you all three of them. So anyway, that's that. I'm going to move on to the next one. So if we go back a screen here, alert slider. Let's talk about this for a second. So the alert slider is this little guy right here on this upper right corner. So this alert slider, which I showed my unboxing, you can slide it all the way up and that puts you in silent. Slide it into the middle, that puts you on vibrate, and slide it down and that puts you in ring mode. It's a really handy little feature that allows you to go from having sound on your phone to no sound at all just by doing that, rather than, powering your phone up, waking it up, adjusting the volume over here, whatever you need to do. And that actually adjusts the media volume, so that doesn't really work anymore anyway, but it's a really handy little feature that OnePlus has included in their phones for a while. So in here though, there's a couple of settings you can tweak. You can adjust what happens when it's in silent mode. Do you still want your alarms to ring? Do you want media volume to be muted or not? If we go into vibrate, same things. You can decide if you want alarms to still bing through, and then when it's on ring, you can also have it vibrate. So there's a couple options in there, but make sure you're using that. It's this is about the only Android phone with one of those, so you may as well sort of get used to it and figure out how it works. From here, though, there's a quick gestures section. So quick gestures has been on OnePlus phones for quite a while, but they've included some gestures that let you just do some things quickly. Like for one, system gestures up here, flip to mute. If you have an incoming call, you can just flip your phone over like that and it'll mute it. Kind of a cool little feature. There's a 3-fingered screenshot. So on this phone, you can still take screenshots by doing volume down and power for a second, and then it takes a screenshot. But if you have 3-finger gesture enabled, you just swipe with 3 fingers and it also takes a screenshot, which I think is easier than doing the double power button volume thing. If we go to screen off gestures, a couple of cool things in here. Double tap to wake, music controls, which I don't really care about, but these drawing things are kind of fun. So double tap to wake, that's pretty self-explanatory. If you have that turned on and your phone is locked, you just double tap it, it'll wake up the screen. Drawing, though, to open apps or things like that is kind of fun. You can have them do whatever. So if I open up Draw O, I can choose, say, open the camera. And then when my screen's off, if I draw an O on there, it'll open the camera or record video, or you could have it open a specific app if you want to as well. The only one I currently have enabled is Draw V for flashlight. So I'll show you. If you're in this screen, you just draw V. There is my flashlight. And I draw V again, flashlight off. Makes sense? So cool little gesture trick there. Look through these, see which ones might be the most important to you. Next up, though, is launching your camera and just a couple of camera tips. So from this screen, buttons and gestures, obviously a pretty important section here. Quick turn on camera. If you toggle that on, it allows you to double tap on your power button and that launches your camera from wherever, lock screen, in an app, whatever. If you double tap, so screen off, double tap, that launches the camera. So that works from wherever. You should memorize that. That is your fastest way to launch the camera and snap a picture. You can customize some other things. I showed you that gesture. You could draw an O and it could launch your camera. Depending on your navigation button setup, I could have like a long press on back, open the camera. OnePlus allows you to do a lot of stuff, but I always found that the double tap on power is the fastest way. Now from in here, navigating this, pretty simple. If you want to switch modes, you can see I've got like video, portrait mode. I just swipe left to right on the screen to get into those. So now I'm in portrait. Now I'm in night. I can swipe back and get over to video. Another quick shortcut there is if you actually just swipe up from this area, it shows you all modes. So I could then get over to night, or swipe up and get into pro mode, or swipe back up, get back into photo. So that's kind of just a quick little gesture swipe there to get into all modes. This also allows you to get into your settings. There's not a ton of stuff to tweak in here. I often turn on a grid just so I get my photos lined up properly. You may also want to make sure this OnePlus watermark is turned off. Otherwise, every photo you take will say taken on a OnePlus, and you don't want that. So turn that off. The other things are maybe leave histogram on there. So when you're in pro mode, that's where you find your histogram option. Otherwise, that's pretty much it in terms of adjusting. The other thing I'd point out is this phone does have Google Lens. So if you're into Google Lens and what it does, which is copy text that you point your camera at, searching for products, identifying plants and animals, discovering books and media, or scanning barcodes, this will do that. So there is a little Google Lens icon right over there, and you just tap that and that'll let you scan things. Let's move on over to the home screen. So home screen settings are some things you should set up. First of all, if you want to use a third-party launcher, feel free to install Nova or Action Launcher, one of those. Those are great. The included launcher here isn't bad though. So OnePlus's launcher is sort of like Google's Pixel launcher, just with maybe some less features, but there are some things you should definitely set up. So we're going to long press on this and go into home settings. And from here, the first thing I would make sure that's enabled is swipe down. Well, this first option up here, which says add icon to home screen, what that means is whenever you install a new app, it'll add it to your home screen. I don't want it to do that, so I leave that off. But swipe down, if you enable this, it allows you to swipe down from wherever, and it'll pull your notification area down. So rather than reaching all the way up here and swiping down, when you're on your home screen, you can have it so that I can swipe down. Like I'm way down here, almost in the navigator, or the navigation area. Swiping down does that. So that's what that setting is. I would turn that on for sure. The shelf, so I will probably end up turning that off, but the shelf is this area over here to your left side, which says never settle, which is cheesy, but there's some shortcuts to tools and some of your recent apps and some of your recent contacts. If you have the T-Mobile version, apparently you can switch this to Google's Discover feed. This is the unlocked version, and I do not have that option, but apparently it is on the T-Mobile version. So if you have the T-Mobile version, you may want to do that because it's kind of handy. And there will be an option in here that says change shelf something. I'm not sure. Again, this is the unlock, but there is an option for that on the T-Mobile. Double tap to lock is a handy one. So if I'm on my lock screen now, I can double tap and that actually locks the phone. So certainly one of the handier tricks if you want to quickly lock it manually. You can also adjust icon packs. So if you don't like how the icons look from OnePlus, you can change those to round or square, or install third-party icon packs. But this is exactly where you would do that. With that in mind, you can actually manually change icons. So if I long press on this here and go to edit and then tap on the icon, it'll allow me to choose which icon format I want to use. And if I had third-party icons in here, they would be listed there, and then I could choose and customize just individual icons. So some handy little tricks there that should at least let you get your home screen set up properly. Let's talk now about some display stuff. So swipe down, go into settings, and we're gonna go into display. Now there's a whole bunch of stuff in here. You should spend some time in here, but I wanna highlight a few things. Night mode, we're big fans of night mode. So if I turn night mode on, you'll see what it does. It turns everything this sort of amberish color, eases strain on your eyes. It's a blue light filter. You should definitely use it. I have mine set to automatically turn on at night. Another cool thing is if you actually read books or something like that on your phone, there is a reading mode, and it turns everything to grayscale to make it also easier on your eyes as you try to read things. So just keep that in mind. Kind of cool. I have shortcuts to these up here in this notification quick settings area. You can see night mode there. I thought I had reading mode. Apparently I don't. I probably will add it up there, but you can have shortcuts to those. Just hit this little edit button and you'll find them all there. We've talked about that plenty in the past. Screen calibration. This is where you can decide what kind of color profile you want on your phone. So I have mine set to default. I think it looks great, but you can do sRGB if you want those muted colors. DCI-P3, adaptive mode, custom color where you can choose the coolness or warmness of the display. Kind of up to you. I've been going with just default, but there are some options in there. If you really hate that notch up top, you can actually hide it, and that basically just makes your notification area black. This notch barely shows. I'm not going to do that, but if it bugs you, you can certainly do that. ambient display. We talked about this a little bit with the fingerprint reader, and we turned these two shortcuts on. You can also adjust how you want your clock to look. There aren't many options, and I don't like that red accent they put everywhere, so I go with just the basic digital white guy, but you can choose that if you want to as well. You can also have the screen wake up every time you get new notifications. I leave that on because this just sits by me on my desk all day, so think about that. Other than that, in here, there are some font size stuff you can adjust in status bar. If there are certain icons up here that you don't like say you don't really want to see your Wi-Fi icon all the time, you can turn things like that off. Or if there's an NFC icon showing, you turn that off. But you can also decide how you want your battery to look, and if you want battery percentage to show all the time, that's in here. Also, theme. There are 3 themes. One's colorful, one's light, one's dark. If you go with colorful, all it really does is change like some of these settings icons over here to be colorful. If you want a little more control over that, you could choose, say, the light theme. And it's going to take a second here, but if you choose light theme, then you can actually choose an accent color too. And you can choose any of these, or you can go in and really, really fine tune what you want your accent color to be. And then that's your accent color everywhere. So as that changes, I'll show you. I should have that sort of pinkish color everywhere. So anyway, display settings, there's a whole bunch of stuff in here to go ahead and set up out of the box. Moving on now to sound settings, you'll see it right there. So sound settings, obviously you can adjust volumes in here, and there's a do not disturb mode, which I recommend everyone set up and turn on so that do not disturb comes on at like night and doesn't hit you with notifications all night long. But some other stuff in here, you can actually set your audio tuner for when you have headphones in. There is actual tuner settings in here. You have to plug headphones in order for that to work, and yeah, no headphone jack, so you have to use that little dongle or find some USB-C earbuds. What I like that OnePlus does though is the vibrate section. You can actually choose from a variety of different vibrate buzz patterns. So adjust those, but you can also adjust your vibration intensity for incoming calls, notifications, and when you just tap your phone and you're just using it. So these are all set. Incoming is strong. Incoming call is strong because it wants you to make sure you hear or listen for phone calls, but notifications are set to medium. You could change these to light if you don't want your phone vibrating so hard on your desk. And it'll let you know when you choose what the vibration strength is. And then down here, you just have some other settings. If you don't want your phone to make noise every time you touch it, that's where you turn that off. So anyway, sound settings. And finally, we're going to head all the way down here to utilities, still in the settings area. Utilities, these are some of the extra bonus features that OnePlus tosses in that you may want to take advantage of. Number one is gaming mode. So in gaming mode, you can set your phone to flip into a specific mode when you are playing games. So it tries to recognize all the games you have. You can see I have a child. So it'll try to recognize those and do specific things, like block notifications, so they're not overlaying over the top of your game. You can have it answer calls via speaker automatically so that you can still game and then talk to someone. Network boost to try to limit apps network usage while you're gaming in case your gaming is using the network. So gaming mode, some cool stuff in here for gamers. If we go back though, quick launch. So this is a feature that I have not found useful yet, but if you turn this on, it allows you to use the in-display fingerprint reader up front on the lock screen to quickly launch into apps. So it's showing you kind of how it works, and you can change which shortcuts you have it do, and I'll try to demonstrate this. So in this screen, if I long press on this, it then unlocks and opens up this menu to quickly open an app or new note or voice search or something like that. But like it unlocks the phone and gets you into that UI. So again, long press, it unlocks, and I keep pressing and it goes into, I have no idea why that would be useful, but that is a thing they are now including. App locker, if you want to encrypt some apps or put encryption around an app, maybe that's the proper way to say that, feel free to use that. Scheduled power off, if you're one of those people that wants to refresh your phone basically every day, you could have it scheduled power on off maybe while you're sleeping, or maybe just in the middle of the day so you know it's actually happening to just refresh everything on your phone. Pocket mode I would definitely have on if you have all those ambient settings on, and what it says is prevents accidental screen touches or fingerprint operations when the phone is in your pocket. So if you have your screen waking up from all notifications, that sort of stuff, you should probably turn that. That's pretty much it. I know it's kind of lengthy, but I think that should really, really get you going with your OnePlus 6T. If you have comments, questions, let us know. We're Droid Life. Peace.